Oh man, this game was not what I was expecting. Released exclusively for the Wii by Namco Bandai, the Munchables is not like anything I was expecting, and it's way better for it. So quick story, I found the game for just a few dollars used, and I thought I'd give it a shot, namely because the cover was intriguing enough. And on the spine, there's actually this little pile of poop, so I thought, for a few bucks, I'll give it a shot. These are the type of games I love buying because they are so cheap, but they are complete and wonderful experiences all around. The Munchables is the definition of a hidden gem on the Wii. You play as one of the titular Munchables, a really blob with eyes and mouth that just eats everything. Fortunately, with a really attractive visual style, and just by luck, I guess, everything happens to be vegetables or fruits. So one day, a giant UFO comes and steals the legendary orbs, quote unquote, which are really just those piles of poops I mentioned before. And unfortunately, your home islands are now overrun by these space pirates that are really just robotic looking foods. And being a Munchable who does nothing but eat said foods, all you do is see them as more food and you start to attack. Now, you learn later on in the story that the main bad guy, named Don Onion, who's kind of hilarious in his own right, knows who the Munchables are and actually worked with someone else on this planet. So he should downright understand that Munchables consume food as their life, yet he decides to make his sort of pirate posse made of fruits and veggies, or at least in their likeness. So, I mean, you can instantly see the foil of his plan. The story does a good enough job to hold everything together, but the best part about the Munchables is just the wackiness of gameplay. Now, I said it was really fun and kind of not like much I'd played before, but it does have similarities to other games, namely the Katamari Damacy series. You'll go around each level trying to get bigger and bigger by eating smaller things, and eventually you get big enough where you can finally eat something that you couldn't otherwise eat before. So if you've played that Katamari type of game, you'll understand completely where the Munchables is coming from. Unfortunately, not everything is 100% awesome with the Munchables. The gameplay overall is pretty straightforward right from the beginning all the way to the very end. You really just go all around the world, which is 3D and looks really great, but you're just tapping a button to eat something or another button to attack it to make it smaller to just eat it. If that sounds fun to you, this game is right up your alley, but if not, and you think it's going to get repetitive, unfortunately, after the first level, you've pretty much seen what the entire game has to offer, so there's not much more to play on. But the game has a wonderful art direction and great style. For a lower budget game, this has great production value. The visual style is absolutely wonderful. A lot of the characters have fully animated movements when they're in their sort of dialogue scenes, so you can see them kind of interact and talk with one another, and it's really kind of silly. Props to the writing because it's actually legitimately funny at some points. Aside from there being direct jokes with everything being related to food, a lot of puns are made with some of the words, and the actual comedic performance is not too bad for a kid's game. You'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. At least for the few bucks I paid, it was totally worth it. I mentioned earlier that you have to save your islands from all the space pirates coming in to attack, and each island is essentially a different landscape. So you have, your basic forest area, with waterfalls and all that, and then you have a desert, underwater zone, a zone made of nothing but candy and chocolates, and eventually there's a space pirate base in space. Space pirate. Yeah. A lot of variety went into making these worlds, and they are fully realized. If you look at the chocolate and candy world, it's pretty cool, and you can see they have a total structure built around that sort of ideal. The people that live there survive on chocolate. They make it as they're living, and you go through the factory that is producing chocolate treats and cookies all around. It's kind of neat, to be honest. The controls can be a little bit wonky as you play from time to time. Unfortunately, the default setup requires you to flick the Wii remote to jump, which isn't totally bad, but it kind of makes movement a bit tougher when you have to jump and land at the same time, which doesn't come up too often, but it is enough to kind of nag at you in those later stages. Speaking of nagging at you, each stage also has collectible acorns that you can find to unlock what just boil down to be aesthetically pleasing upgrades for your character, which have nothing to do to change the gameplay. But at first, the acorns are really easy to find, and later on in the stages, they just become really tedious. Like, you know where they are, but it's just hard to get there. Or you see it at one point, and then it goes away, and sometimes never comes back. This is a great way to get you to play stages again and breathe some replayability into the entire game, but when it's not really worth it in the end, you don't really feel like you have to go get them. So, nice try, Munchables, but there needs to be more incentive next time. Overall, it's the quirkiness, charm, and visuals that will lure you to this game and keep you playing until the very end. The end actually isn't too long. You'll probably beat the entire game in a matter of hours, a little bit more if you want to collect all the acorns. But doing so does unlock a new character to play and mirror levels of each one with this somewhat time attack mode. So you can keep going and you can actually unlock more stuff, which is great. Again, for the game being so cheap, it's a pretty nice incentive to keep going. You get a lot of value out of that. But it's the simplicity and the controls that mar the experience from being truly memorable by everyone, which is probably why this game flew under the radar for most. It didn't really have that lasting appeal. It was really short, the controls were just average at best, and it was really simple. Maybe it was catered towards children, I don't know, but I feel with the humor and the drive for great production, it was probably meant to be this huge game, and unfortunately it just didn't make it. That being said, if you do find the game out somewhere, you should definitely pick it up if it's just a few bucks. It will be totally worth your time. As a collector, I see, play, and run through a lot of games, and a lot of people like to talk about hidden gems and things that really stand out, something you have that no one else has. That's really great for the system. For the Wii, I hear a lot of games that get repeated all the time, but no one ever brings up something like this. And this is a good game. This is a great example of a hidden gem. It has everything that would qualify it to be in that category. It flew under the radar, but it had wonderful visual styles, great presentation, nice production values, and good gameplay. It's worth your time, and that's why it's a hidden gem. So if you're looking for one, here you are. With all the food puns and toilet humor aside, the Munchables for the Wii is a wonderful game that will be really fun for you if you find it, and you can play it as an adult, as a kid, as whomever, and you will have a great time.
Guys,